But what about the longer and the medium term for the markets? That's something that Sachin Shah will talk to us about. But before that, I think Tata Motors is launching the latest edition coming in. So that's the swanky looking car which is coming up on the stage, Curve, which is the latest entrant in this category. It's going to come at a lower price point than what the rest of the category really comes in at. The price hasn't been disclosed yet, but that's definitely a good looking car for you on the screen. So latest coming in from the stable of Tatas. Of course, earlier in the day, my colleague Shrishti was also talking about how Bajaj Auto in the two-wheeler category might also come up with some interesting launches. But now let me welcome on board Sachin Shah to talk to us a bit more about that. Sachin, let's begin by discussing the auto space itself. Quite a few launches lined up. There is the expectation of rural recovery as well. But at the same time, these stocks have run up quite substantially over the last couple of years in terms of the stock price. How do you, kind of weigh the risk reward for the sector right now?
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me on the show, like always. So, clearly within the auto, we have three large segments. One is, of course, the passenger vehicles, then you have two wheelers, and then commercial vehicles. I think all the three segments have done exceedingly well in the last 2 3 years now. And I think there is the underlying theme between, particularly in the passenger vehicle segment, which is what you were referring to earlier. I think is largely the game of premiumization, and we are seeing that across OEs, because one, of course, the big premiumization that we've seen in the passenger vehicle segment is where what SUV segment used to be less than 20%, say less than 3 4 years back, today is more than 50% of the overall volumes. And of course, within that also, I think the higher variant models are getting sold, which are the not the base models, but at least the ones which are from the top two or three models. So I think that premiumization game continues to be the theme out there. And I think we are seeing a similar trend within the two wheelers also, where what used to be a 100 cc or a 125 cc market is now moving to 150 to 350 cc plus kind of market. So I think that's the theme that we are seeing across the products, across the categories. And from that perspective, I think this entire auto as a space has long legs. So there may be years where you might see a muted volume growth of about 5 6 7%, but the value growths are far more higher, and that is probably reflected in some of the results, like the Maruti results that we've seen for the last, I think, the entire calendar financial year 24, and also the first quarter of financial year 25, where the value growth in terms of the revenue, gross profit, EBITDA is in high double digits. So I think that is what I would believe is something what we are extremely focused about, and that's where the profitability is also higher for the companies. So we strongly believe that auto as a space has long legs for at least next 3 to 5 years. Both on the volumes, and but more than the volumes, also the premiumization story, which should add a lot of value as far as the profitability is concerned.
Okay, so that's a interesting thesis as far as the entire auto vertical is concerned. But let me just zoom out a bit and talk about markets right now, Sachin. Because while earnings this quarter haven't been really impressive in that sense, there has been a bit of a disappointment with respect to a lot of sectors. There is that tailwind of that massive, domestic flows that keeps on continuing into the markets. Do you think for the near term, and I'm talking about 6 to 12 months, that's going to be the biggest factor? That momentum is something that will overpower the fundamentals and earnings, and hence the market will continue to trend higher?
The fact that today, of course, you're right to some extent that the earnings season has been a bit of a mixed bag, right? There have been results which have been pretty decent. There have been some disappointments. Some have been muted. I think overall, yes, there might be some cuts in the overall earnings growth projected for the FY25. But I think one classic thing that the equity markets have taught all of us is that what is relevant is only future. And from that perspective, I think that at this point in time also, when you hear the commentaries of many of the companies where the results have not been so great, whether it is in autos, whether it is in engineering, whether it is in banking, I think the commentary and the outlook is very, very steady. Most of the managements believe that over the next 3 4 quarters, the earnings growth should pick up much better than what it has been over the last quarter. So I think, and of course, the other very important thing, like you mentioned in terms of the flows, I think the flows continue to be very strong in the domestic mutual funds, which will probably allow the markets to remain overall buoyant.
Okay, so if you had to put incremental money to work in all those flows that you would be getting in Sachin, which pockets are you identifying? Is it more of the same ideas? Are you looking at expanding your coverage and going towards some mid cap, small cap? How are you allocating funds right now, basically?
Yeah, so it depends on which strategies we get the funds, and according to the mandate of the strategies, we will invest. But to answer your question, say for example, in our flagship strategy, which is our MK Capital Builder, which is a classic flexi cap, multi cap kind of a strategy. Clearly, at this point in time, we are allocating nearly 65% of the money towards large caps, and of course, this number was probably about 50 or 55%, just about maybe 3 years back, and maybe 60% 1 year back, and today it's in the range of 65 to 70%. So that's how the allocations have moved, because at this point in time, the relative valuations are probably far more attractive with the large caps, and the risk reward out there seems to be much more favorable.
Okay, so that's the view coming in. Thanks so much, Sachin, for making time and speaking with us. So that's the latest coming in as far as the overall market setup is concerned.